More to Marketing. Welcome to More to Marketing, the podcast that explores marketing, product, and everything in between. I'm your host, Susan, and today we're talking about empathy in marketing. I would love to introduce Mike, who has literally written the book on empathetic marketing. Mike has used his empathetic marketing approach to work with business owners, seven-figure coaches, startups, and a lot of other service providers. His approach is people first and has been featured on TEDx, which is very exciting. Mike is also known to many as the marketing medic. So welcome, Mike. Great to see you today.
Hey, Susan. We know each other because you're on my podcast. So this is awesome that we can reciprocate like this.
Exactly. We're doing tradesies. But
Tradesies.
Tell everyone a bit more about you and how you become known as the marketing medic.
Well, you kind of gave it away in your intro to me.
Only a little bit.
I worked as a paramedic for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw at the time separating myself from the other medics is most paramedics are adrenaline junkies. We like to, start the IV and push the drug and defibrillate the chest and intubate and do all that cool stuff. And I like doing that too. But I found when I was on the call, I would talk to my patient more than I would do to my patient. Not that I didn't do when it needed to be done, but if there are other people there, like one of the things I did that was so different, like especially as a student, is when you're a student, again, you want to do all the stuff. Like it's so exciting. But I remember when like a trauma would come into the ER, what I would do is I would go to the head of the patient and I would just talk to them and explain to them what is going on and what's happening. And because most patients, when they go in the ER, they don't really know what's happening. They don't know what's scary. Some of them don't even know why they're there. It's very scary, right? And so there's just something inside of me that wanted to address those concerns while the nurses and the doctors and the other students were, like I say, starting the IVs, pushing the drugs, doing all that stuff. And I just think that made me a much better paramedic. And then one day I was on the top of a cliff, a 35-foot cliff, and I accidentally fell off of it. And I broke my arm, and I broke my leg, and I broke my back. And most paramedics, firefighters, police, or whatever, since we work 12-hour shifts, we have a side hustle. And my side hustle was doing corporate team building. And this was in the late 1990s, and that was huge in the region where I lived in Canada. And I was doing that as a side hustle. But when I fell off the cliff, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to become an entrepreneur and pursue that side of my life. Anyway, as I became an entrepreneur, I learned that the more empathy I directed at my audience, my potential clients, the more clients I got. And so I sort of drew a parallel from what I was doing as a medic on the empathy side to what I did in business.
One of the things that really makes me very warm and fuzzy inside is the whole piece around empathy and listening. There's not a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of marketers that think they do, but don't really. And for you to actually see results in both fields and being able to transition it across is just amazing. So what made you...
So I just want to... sorry, listeners, but before we started this call, I was explaining to Susan how I'd met a hostage negotiator from Scotland. And how he thought like a lot of the tactics that he uses in hostage negotiation situations and in crisis intervention could apply to marketing. And he sent me the bullet points of the top 5 things. And the number 4 thing on his list, I'm not saying they're in any particular order, was active listening. And he said the exact same thing you did. He's like, most people think they listen, but they really don't. And so I'm going to interview him on my podcast. And he's got 8 things that you can do to active listen better. And so so that's one of my questions, like what are the 8 things to allow us to listen better? Because I don't think any of us listen as well as we could.
And 100% for everyone listening, we're going to have the directions on how to listen to Mike and all of his fantastic podcasts as well, so you don't miss out on that as well.
Thanks, Susan.
No, I've loved your pieces, particularly the dragon.
Right.
She was absolutely fantastic. Yep. The one thing for me though is with empathy with marketing, how do people actually go about this? What makes it empathetic? Are you able to provide just a bit more information about that so people can actually start feeling this along with us?
Yeah. And so I created what I call the 4 Ds of transformation. And so I think a lot of us know that to make a sale, you've got to get them from where they are right now to where they want to be, or where you want them to be, right? And I call that the 4 Ds of transformation delivery. And you want to look, so you need to understand this, and so that you can use it in the language and the messaging when you create your campaigns. And so in the short term, what you want to look at is their difficulties and their desires. So like, let's just use weight loss as an example, because we all understand weight loss. I think all of us want to lose some weight or gain some muscle, or whatever. And so like a difficulty for me would be like, because I'm getting older, I was getting a little uncomfortable taking my shirt off to mow the lawn, because what if somebody drives by and sees the little roll over my shorts? Like that's a difficulty, right? And so that's in the short term. Like, I would like to next week mow the lawn with my shirt off. How am I going to do that? And so that's the difficulty. And so what my desire is like a quick, easy way to attain that goal. So the desires are usually just the solution to the difficulty. But also, when we're talking about weight loss, in the long term, you want to look at their dreads and their dreams. So these are a lot broader in scope. Yep. And again, they're more long term. So when we're looking at weight loss, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking at maybe diabetes, maybe heart disease. These are bigger things. And so my dreams are to not have diabetes, or to not have heart disease. My dreams are to, still be active when I'm in because I like to hike, and I like to bike, and I like to canoe. I don't want to stop doing that when I'm 60 years old, right? I want to be doing that in my 70s and my 80s, because I know people now who are in their 70s and they can't leave the house, Yeah. And then I know, I love using Mick Jagger as an example. Like, I don't know if he's in his late 70s or if he's 80 already, but
how did he survive?
Well, like, just look what Mick Jagger can do at his, like, most 30-year-olds can't go from concert to concert, like running, like he runs across the stage for like 2.5 hours, and he's singing. And so that's what's possible for an 80-year-old. So my dream is to have, Mick Jagger's health at that age, right? And so that's one way you can sort of like get an understanding of where your audience is to really dig deep into their 4 Ds of transformation, their difficulties, their desires, their dreads, and their dreams.
Those 4 Ds really do make sense, particularly in the examples that you've provided, because it's really touching on what those individuals need and value.
Right.
And that means, again, coming back to the active listening as well, about them listening to themselves, what they actually want out of those 4 Ds as well.
Yeah. And going back to my hostage negotiator friend, and I mentioned this before the call, is he said he would spend 10 hours preparing for a 5-minute conversation. And you asked, like, what is he going to do for 10 hours, right? And so one of the things he would do is go over, and he has his own terms for it, but he has something that is similar to the 4 Ds, right? But the other thing that he would look at, and this is what we do in empathic marketing, is really identify all of your audience's false limiting beliefs, because we're all super skeptical, especially now, because there's so many scammers. There's so much, especially in the United States, Donald Trump made fake news popular. Like, everything's fake news now. Like, we don't trust anybody anymore. Yeah, and so difficult. Regardless of how good your offer is, in the mind of your potential buyer, they're saying no. They're just like, their default is no, no, no. And so you want to try to think of from their perspective, why are they going to say no? And there's 3 core reasons why people usually say no. And so these are the ones you want to address. First, they don't believe in you. Okay. They don't know you. They don't know if you're a liar. They don't know if you're a scammer. They don't believe in you.
No trust.
First, like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, Susan's great, but I don't know if her product really works. Right. So you need to address that. Like, I like Susan, but I don't know if she's ever sold this thing before. I don't know if it works. Right. And so there's that. And then the third, and this is actually usually the biggest one. It's like, I love Susan. I know her product works. Her weight loss product works, but I don't think it'll work for me. Right. So I would think that about your weight loss product, Susan, because you're a woman. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, Susan's weight loss product is great because it works for women. It worked for Susan, but I'm a dude, right? Yep. So it's not going to work for me. So when you are having empathy for me and having understanding for me, you're going to say, you know what, Mike is going to think that it doesn't work for him because he's a man. And so I need to address why it works for both genders.
Mm. Oh, that again, empathy, active listening, putting yourself in those shoes. But I think a lot of people might mix up empathy with sympathy when it comes to marketing. How can we avoid that? Because they are very different.
Yeah. And so I just happened across a video that explains that so well. And you might have seen the video. I think it was a viral video. It was in bunch of different languages. Anyway, picture this. There's this blind guy sitting in a park, and he's got a sign that says, "I'm blind, please help." And everybody just walks past. Everybody just looks at him and says, "Oh, that poor guy." And they walk past. They see him. "Oh, that poor guy." They have sympathy for that guy. They feel really sorry for him. "Oh, look at that blind guy. Can't see. I feel sorry for that guy." That's sympathy, right? Then this girl comes along and takes a sign and turns it over and writes something on the sign and puts the sign back down, and then she walks away. And next thing in the video, all these people are coming and they're dropping money into his cap. And he's hearing all the change. He's seeing bills flying all over the place.
Lots and lots of money. Yep.
Lots of money. And then the girl comes back and he asks her, he's like, "So, like, what did you do?" And she said, "I said the same thing, but with different words." And what she said is, "It's a beautiful day and I can't see it." So that is empathy. So now the people who are walking in this beautiful park, right? So now instead of sympathizing for that blind man, they're empathizing with him because they're in the park, they're with their partner, they're holding hands, they're enjoying this beautiful day. And here's this guy, he's not enjoying the day the same way. So they have a shared experience, but with a different perception of it. And so that's empathy. And that's just such a succinct video to explain the difference between sympathy and empathy.
And it is a very moving, touching video. I happened to come across it on LinkedIn myself, and it is very, very short, but it does pack such a big punch when you see that change out, and then you realize the subtle word changing and what a difference it makes.
Yeah, and whoever made the video wasn't making a differentiation between sympathy and empathy. That was my perception of it, and I think my perception is quite accurate.
I have to agree with you on that, and I think that really does show that when you're doing marketing, you've got to be careful of how you do your messaging, because you want people to be connected to your brand, not just look at it and whatever. You actually want them to feel part of it, feel that they need it, feel like it's part of their purpose and goes along with their values to a certain extent too.
Yeah. And just as an aside, as a marketer, and I'm not blowing my own horn here, but I saw this video and I had the same, emotional tug that you did, but I stopped to think about it. And that's when oh, that's sympathy and that's empathy. And the reason I say this is because you don't want to just be thinking about marketing when you're working on your business. And that's what everything goes back to my hostage negotiator friend. He's like, you can't you can't be a good hostage negotiator if you only practice your tactics on the job. You've got to be doing this all the time, right? You've always got to be so with empathy, you've always got to be thinking about the other person's shoes. And it's just so funny. I don't know how many times people give you instructions for something and they give you the last instruction of a series of 5 because they just assume the first 4 because they do, right?
Yep.
And so that's another thing that I do differently is that whenever I give anybody instructions, I always let's start this is step 1. I understand that they're not where I am. And I think that's a big mistake most of us make is we make the assumption other people are in the same space that we are, regardless of what that space is.
Exactly. I do what I call little mini field trips. So with my team, we regularly go out to lunch or to a local little supermarket in lunchtime and grab things. And I find myself doing little mini lessons on the job just because my assumption is I'd rather think you don't know and you tell me you do than you don't know and I never know at all.
Right.
So I was literally in the shopping center yesterday, and the person next to me was looking for a home brand of a product. And home brand products which is usually the supermarket's name product, so it's the cheapest one on the shelf, it's usually at the very, very bottom or the very, very top,
Right.
because the prime spot is by people in the eye in the middle is where people
Yep.
pay the most money for on those shelves. But this person has never lived in marketing world before. So straight away I said, okay, bottom shelf. And we looked down and it was there. And he just looked at me like, what the? So I educated him on a bit of supermarket marketing and placement so that he would now understand that in the future. So we're both on the same field. So 100%, you need to be able to make sure you don't make assumptions, because you don't know
Right.
where you're going to end up together.
Yes, very good.
Are you able to share some examples of empathetic marketing that has significantly impacted a customer journey or maybe loyalty or engagement?
Yeah. So I think like one of my first clients is what launched my career. And so I was asked to help a boot camp gym in California. And so they're on the coast of California, where there is no shortage of, the 20 somethings looking for the ideal beach bod.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a small, two brothers owned it. It was a family boot camp gym. And they were ripped. Oh my God. These guys look like superheroes. They were like 6'2" and just like 4% body fat, just muscles bulging everywhere. Oh my gosh. And that's the type of client they wanted to attract.
Yep.
And so they were looking at what Gold's Gym advertised. And so in the United States, Gold's Gym, LA Fitness, what these gyms were doing, they're like, okay, so Gold's Gym is crushing it. LA Fitness is crushing it. We're going to do what they're doing. And so they're doing all these advertisements with like these super fit, there's just stock photos of, the black and white girl in the ripped tank top and, six-pack abs. And they weren't getting any traction. Like nobody was coming to their boot camp gym. And so I flew out there and I went to their gym and I took a couple of their classes, and I didn't see, Heidi Klum or, any of these supermodels.
Someone with ripped abs just in there in the class.
No one was in there, right? It was all middle-aged, like it was California. So a lot of middle-aged Hispanic women and middle-aged men.
Yep.
A little bit. All of them were overweight. Like the only fit people, I do an air quote, you can't see me, but the only fit people in the, and see, there's another example of empathy. Like when I did the air quotes, I realized that your audience is listening.
Yes.
And I'm conscious of that. So that's why I said that. Anyway, just conscious of that as well. Yeah. And so the only really fit people in the gym were the instructors. And so I said, okay, let's look at this. If this is the type of people you've attracted in the past, why don't we try to attract more of those people?
Because they'll tell their friends maybe, etc.
Yeah. And so this is where you want to look at have the empathy and understand that 20-something beach body. 20-somethings, yes, they want to have a beach bod, but more important than that, they want to have that selfie of them at LA's Fitness gym, at Gold's Gym, with all the big mirrors and all the weights and all this stuff. Like it's the status of being at that gym that is probably in today's society more important than the result, right? And there's no status to being in a little mom and pop, corner.
There's no famous person that was there or anything like that to give it the attraction. Yeah.
And so like their gym could get results for these 20-somethings, but that's not where they wanted to get the results. And so what I ended up doing was I got a woman from the gym who had lost 60 pounds, but she said, and she was still like 80 to 100 pounds from her goal. Like she was a bigger woman. And during the interview, she just broke down crying, saying like how much she loved the gym, because at home, so you got to picture this again, that the empathy, like if you're a woman who's like 80 pounds overweight, what does your family look like? Probably not supermodels, right?
Yep. It's probably you've been feeding them.
It's probably a genetic thing or whatever, right? So your family's big. And so at home, they're like, oh, you're trying to lose weight. That's cute. Like we've all done that and it's not going to happen. So you go to your little gym for a few days and, we'll see you back at the buffet next week. And so that's how she described her home life. But at the gym, she was with like-minded people who were having on the same journey. And she just felt so accepted and welcome and understood there that for her, like sort of like the 20-somethings who wanted to have the selfie in front of the whatever to put on Instagram and say, look at me working out. Like I'm all about fitness, right? for her, it was the same thing, but she wasn't posting on Instagram, but it was just important for her to be in that community. And so I'm not saying this video went viral, but oh my gosh, and the video quality, this is one of my first videos I ever done, was so bad. I just did it with my phone and I didn't have them mic'd, and the
It probably
angle
made it more authentic though.
Oh, but it was terrible. And then like looking back at what I did now, like I had this music track over top that was way too loud. Like it was such a poor quality video that I made, but it didn't matter because her message came through. And that's what I say about empathic marketing. It's all about the message. So many people I know like are trying to build a funnel, and I think it's about the funnel. It's not about the funnel. It's about the message that the funnel delivers. So anyway, what we were able to do was, we were able to get them a 36-to-1 return on ad spend. So the two brothers, before I got there, were working full-time jobs, and all their money was going in just to keep the gym afloat. And within a year, both of them quit their full-time jobs to work the gym full-time because they could. Right. And so like, that's the difference. And so like in America, I don't know how big, if Russell Brunson is super famous in Australia or not, but he's the founder of ClickFunnels, and he's all about funnel hacking. Right. And I'm a big believer that funnel hacking doesn't work, because LA Fitness's funnel works. Orange Theory funnel works. Gold's Gym funnel works. Those are awesome funnels that bring in millions of dollars. But Joe and Ted's bootcamp gym can't hack those super successful funnels. Like, if you're going to hack a funnel, the hacking is LA Gym took the time to understand who their audience is and what they want. And that's the message they created. So that's what you need to hack, is that understanding that business has for their audience.
And the great thing is the owners listened. They realized that the advice that they were getting was that, look what you've got now. You're not attracting those people. You're not going to be able to attract them away, but how can we attract more of these people who want to be here and want to stay, and not just take photos of themselves to make people feel uncomfortable?
Right. Yep.
No.
Yeah. So that made me feel good to get that win for those guys.
Oh, that's a beautiful example. I love that one. Marketers really do like to curate a lot of content, and they like to say that they practice empathy. But are there any strategies that you can actually put in place or recommend so they are in a better place to do it and not just say it? Apart from your 4D step, is there any other little tricks that you could share that could help?
And so when I'm working with contents, when I'm mentoring my clients, I want to build out that list of false limiting beliefs, because we all have problems, and we all think we know the solution. And so what you have to do is you have to meet them where they are and say, listen, hey, so I know I made up like Susan Walsh's, weight loss program.
Yep.
Like, hey,
I'm going to be a millionaire.
Hey, I'm Susan Walsh, and I'm known for helping women, drop 30 pounds in 30 days or whatever. But listen, my program works for men too. And here's the reason why it works for both men and women. And it all comes back to, and this is where part of your marketing, you want to have what I call your big differentiator, like what sets you apart from everybody else. And so one of the things I've succeeded with is Isogenics. You have Isogenics in the United States. It's a multi-level marketing product. It's a protein meal replacement shake. Anyways, I don't know if they knew it, but their unique mechanism was cellular cleansing. And so what's cellular cleansing? It's intermittent fasting.
Okay.
But the thing is intermittent fasting, like everybody has heard of that. Everybody does it, right? And so they put their own name on it. They called it cellular cleansing, and they give you the science behind it. So this is why, if Susan Walsh's weight loss program, if you had cellular cleansing, you're like, the reason it works for men is the same reason it works for women. Because during our after our first 2 weeks of doing X, Y, and Z, we have a 2-day cellular cleanse. And let me explain what happens during the cellular cleansing process. Is that within the first 8 hours of the cellular cleanse, your human growth hormone increases 10x. And by the time you wake up in the morning, your human growth hormone is now up 30x. And it keeps going like that for 48 to 72 hours. And if you don't know, what human growth hormone does is it burns fat. So this is why I can say with confidence that Susan Walsh's weight loss works for both men and women because it's not sex-based, it's human growth hormone-based, and our bodies use that hormone the exact same way. So that's a video that you would do, right?
Again, hitting back to science, fact, and trying to eliminate those questions of I trust, should I keep trusting in?
Right.
I love that. It's definitely an eye-opening approach to do it. I don't believe a lot of places within Australia do that, because a lot of that type of marketing I see more towards the US than within Australia. They're a bit more direct in Australia.
Okay.
Some of those ones do have a little bit of that, but there's a lot of, I don't know about America, but Australia is definitely very regulated and claims need to be substantiated. So when I used to work for a company that was American based, there were very different claims. It was the same product, same ingredients for America versus Australia, because of how strict it was on what you could do to get that believability.
And that's why it's so cool with the example that I gave you, because because the claims we're making aren't based on your program. They're based on human growth hormone.
That's just
and
science.
That is in like 100 different, that's just science. Like you can look at any medical journal, you can see what human growth hormone does, right? And then what's cool about isogenics too, and here I am trying to pitch my MLM product on your podcast here.
All good. The links will be in the keynotes, everyone.
But one of the other false limiting beliefs, like, oh, so I'm going to be fasting for 2 days. No. I like food too much. Well, guess what? Isogenics, their 2-day cellular cleanse. The reason you're hungry is usually not because of your stomach. It's because of your brain. Your brain isn't getting the hormones from your stomach to say you're full. And so an isogenics 2-day cellular cleanse isn't a true fast, because you eat about 250 calories throughout the day, which is far less than your normal 2,000 calories. But these are super dense calories that just trick your brain, that promote these chemicals and these hormones that make your brain feel like you're full. So this is a fast that you can do, because you do get to nibble and snack throughout the day. Because actually with isogenics, you consume something every 4 hours, whether it's an adaptogen or a little bit of calories, or there's a few different things that you eat. Every 4 hours you're doing something, and your brain is staying active, and it thinks you're full. And so you don't have all those hunger cravings that you do on a regular intermittent fast. So there's another piece of video content explaining why. Oh, because you believe, like everybody believes intermittent fasting works. I don't think anybody says, no, that's hogwash, that's garbage. But what we do believe is that, there's no way I'm going 2 days or 3 days without eating. There's no way. I know it works, but it won't work for me. But I just explained to you, just give it a try, because we are going to feed your brain, not your stomach. We're going to feed your brain through this process so you won't feel hungry. It's like, and if you want it bad enough, you'll take that risk.
And for a short term, with the guarantees that probably come with it as well, that will make it feel even more secure, because usually a lot of those have 30-day kind of guarantees with them as well. So it's almost like, why wouldn't I want to then? Because they're putting literally the money where it is, that if it doesn't work out for me, I get a full refund.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the clever things a lot of the try before you buy almost do, so that they get that trust happening where you've got nothing to lose apart from a bit of time and trying something new.
And so you said trust, and that's going back to my hostage negotiator. So the first thing in his something ascension ladder, but it's trust. And then once you have trust, then you can start to influence, then you can persuade. Yep. And so, that's something else I'll learn more about when I interview Paul.
And his techniques on it as well.
Yeah.
One of the things I personally love around certain times of the year is when the advertising actually does pull on you in some way, shape, or form. So at Christmas time, there's some beautiful advertising on TV or even visual merchandising within windows that really tries to bring the family in, particularly, say, Christmas. Christmas is one of those. What are some of your favorite empathetic marketing moments that you've seen?
I think it's an Australian video, so maybe you know the one. It's a hardware store.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a hardware store, And it's this like 5-year. So the video, you don't know it's a hardware store, but you see this like 5-year-old kid, roll out of bed. He goes in the kitchen, he makes some eggs, he pours himself a coffee. And anyway, he goes through his day until he goes to the family-owned hardware store and he opens up the shop. And I'm butchering the description of it, but like I say, it was a viral video. And then what happens is it morphs like from this 5-year-old kid into like the 35-year-old store owner or whatever. And the point is, it's like, this is just a family-owned thing. And oh man, like I say, I remember the feeling I got from it. I don't remember the exact.
I don't know that one. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, because I remember I saw it and I wanted to find it, and I did took me like 3 or 4 minutes on Google to search it, and it popped up because it's a big video.
Awesome. And we'll have to have a look for that one. I'll add that to the keynotes
put in
as
the
well
show
for
notes,
everyone.
It's really good. It's really good. And like there's audio, like there's music behind it, but there's no talking, right? And it's just I don't know.
It's that art of storytelling.
Right.
Storytelling seems to be an art that's in a lot of these empathetic marketing pieces, no matter if they're big advertising pieces, radio, anywhere they may be, or even the product themselves, to give that feeling that comes along with it. Right. Do you have any tips or tricks that you've done when it comes to creating that storytelling moment? Like
that's something I think I need to work on, because it's something I do naturally. And so almost everything. And so, one of the things that I can't wait to talk to Paul about, the hostage negotiator, he's like, there are 3 reasons that I want to listen to you. And if you book me on your podcast, I'll tell you what those 3 reasons are.
He's getting on the hook.
So he hasn't told me what they are yet. And so again, like the way I was a medic, just it's the way I was, right? And I had to reflect on that and say, oh wow, yeah, that's right. When all the other students were running to start the IV, I just ran to the head so I could talk to the patient. Well, that's different. Like, why did I do that, right? So I had to reflect on that. And so when it comes to storytelling, I think all the questions that you've even asked me today, I answered with a story. Like I talked about, when I was a paramedic, how I did that. I talked about, the gym, it's always stories. So, So how do you do it though? Yeah. So I have the 4 Ds of transformation delivery. I have identifying false limiting beliefs. So I've got the hardcore tactics that you can use. I haven't developed a structure for storytelling yet, but
maybe that will be,
I'll work on that.
Maybe there'll be book 3 then.
Yes. Because we already talked book 2 is going to be based on, interviews with a Scotland Yard hostage negotiator.
100%. What excites you most about empathetic marketing? Because we can hear your passion. You're so driven by this, and you clearly love what you do and getting the results. But what excites you the most?
It's funny because I'm torn in my mind, because on the surface, like I just see how terrible people are in the world, but at the same time, I'm always helping them, even though I don't want to, because I think you're just bad for the planet. And so I think that's the thing about empathic marketing is it's just that I like understanding people. I like knowing where they're coming from. Like, so here's another story, like road rage, right? So, there's crazy drivers on the road. Well, a number of years back, I rescued a dog. That's what I do. I rescue dogs. And
you have a lot of dogs, and they are beautiful, and they love to eat firewood.
I have 5 rescues behind me right now. But yeah, so I'll foster a dog and then find another home. So anyway, I fostered this dog named Rollo, and I found him another home. And anyway, I'm not going to make this a super long story, but Rollo got extremely sick, like life-threatening sick, and the rescue called. It was heat stroke, like super bad heat stroke. And so the rescue called me and said, Mike, Rollo's in trouble. Can you do something to help? I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting in the truck right now. And so we live in the country, and his new home was a half an hour away on backcountry roads. Like, I'm driving like a lunatic. I'm driving like a crazy person. And there's like this guy going, it's a secondary highway. It's not busy at all, but I can't pass. And I'm like right on his ass. And I'm like, lunging up towards him. And then we're coming towards a stop sign. I'm going to try to pass him before he gets to the stop sign, which is super dangerous. And that guy just hates me. He's like, who is this asshole? Right. Because he is perfectly in his right. He should think that of me because I'm driving like a complete lunatic. But had he known where I was coming from, like all I could think about was helping Rolo. Like,
I got to get there as fast as possible. I could do something for him, maybe. Right? Yeah.
And so I think that's something that happened a number of years ago. And so I think when I see people driving like idiots, I think most of them are idiots. They just are. They're bad people. But now I'm more open to giving them the benefit of the doubt. And even if they are just being an idiot, like what brought them? I mean, you talked about with your staff, like taking them out on parks, like on days, and I do that as well. And it's just I walk around, I see people with such scowls on their face. I'm like, that's not a happy person. And like, why? Like, why? Like, you live in Australia, I live in Canada, US, wherever. Like, this is where our people are listening, and oh my gosh, we have so much to be thankful for. Like, but they're scowling for a reason because of their situation, the way they perceive it. Now, if you lived in, the desert of Africa, you'd probably like, yeah, give me that situation. I would love to have like a $80,000
I'll trade
car.
any day.
Yeah, like, so you're having trouble making that $80,000 car payment. That's a problem I can live with, right? The fact that so anyways, I don't know if I answered your question, but it's just, I think I like understanding people, and I think I like the challenge of removing that bias that I think I have.
Yep. That makes complete sense as well, because it fits perfectly with what you're doing for your own career, the coaching as well, and then writing the books to be able to help others too.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, of course, your podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have one question I ask everybody.
Okay.
The question is, what brand, any brand in the world, best represents you and why?
That's a tough one, but I would probably go with Patagonia.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Patagonia?
That makes sense because of where you live. And
it's outdoor wear. It's outdoor wear, but it was founded by a group of like surfers and rock climbers. And so I used to rock climb, so I can feel that. And I've laid on a surfboard. I've tried to surf a few times. I'm not a surfer. I've tried surfing like 6 or 7 days, and I'm not a surfer. But anyway, had I been born on the ocean, I'd probably be a surfer. But anyway, so a lot of what they do, and what I like about them is their authenticity. So they so they're one of the pioneers in recycling. Like the companies are, so they're like recycling plastics. Like most of their fleece wear is, old pop bottles, right? And then you also use organic cottons. And so they were the first to do that. And their gear costs a little bit more than some other outdoor gear, but that's because they're also they value paying their laborers fair wage, regardless of the country they're in. They're all paid a fair wage. They don't get by on the cheapest labor that they can find.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about them is they started a program called Worn Wear. So what they were encouraging their audience base to do is, don't buy a new jacket just because yours has a hole in the sleeve. Patch your Patagonia jacket, use it for another 3 years, and then if you think you need another jacket, buy it then. They weren't encouraging this consumer mentality that we all have. And that is like so opposite of what a business is supposed to do. They're like, hey, if one day your zipper doesn't go up, throw that thing out.
You can't fix that. No, come buy a new one.
No, come buy a new one, right?
And you need one in different color every year, even though we only come in black. Yep.
Yeah. And so, I love what I love their mission for the environment. I used to, now my mission is to help dogs, but in university, I was more about the environment. And for me, it doesn't matter what your mission is that you have one. right? Whether it's women's rights, whether it's LGBTQ, or whether it's the environment or whatever. It's great that you have one, and you don't just, fly your flag. They donate a lot of their profits to these organizations.
They
so
do, yes.
it's not just, it's just not talking the talk, they're walking the walk. So yeah. If I could work with the company, it'd probably be Patagonia.
I think that one fits a lot with your values as well. So it's a perfect fit, plus the outdoors.
Yeah.
Because you love getting out and about, and you're in a beautiful remote location as well. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing. You've really opened our eyes to what empathetic marketing can be. First steps are always going to be, one, getting your book, but then understanding how the 4 Ds in transformation can do delivery. So the difficulties and desires for your short term, dreads and dreams for your long term, but also really focusing in on the false limiting beliefs to try and get rid of those for whoever you're trying to persuade to come along and try your service or try your product. But the biggest thing is you need to be authentic and also believe that you are doing the right thing. And it's not just being said, it is actually something that you have worked on and earned and can share with whoever you're trying to bring on the journey. Because they'll know if you're authentic or not. It's all about your messaging. Make sure your messaging is also really clean and crisp for them. If you're ever doing advertising as well, bring back the active listening of what do they actually want to hear, what actually makes sense. You might think, like the gym, that you're supposed to have all these big, muscly people in your gym, but in reality, the people wanting to go to your gym, either for location, convenience, price, or the community, is a Hispanic family. The ladies all want to go there because they're going to share recipes, feel good, feel fit, and actually build this community within themselves. So make sure you're actually doing the right thing, not just for your business, but also for your target market, by thinking about them and their empathetic needs as well, because then you actually can build a bigger and stronger business, just like the example that we got from Mike today. Have I missed anything that you'd like to add in there, Mike?
I don't think so. That was a perfect summary. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. But again, don't forget to order your copy of Empathetic Marketing, 5 Steps to Unlock Your New Empathetic Marketing Superpower, available right now on Amazon. Make sure to get that one. It is fantastic. Mine is coming soon. I'm still waiting for it to arrive, to be honest. It has a fantastic image on the front of Mike with one of his horses. So you can visualize Mike as well out in the country, enjoying his hikes and Patagonia wear as well. But to everyone else, don't forget to add More to Marketing to your playlist so you don't miss out on any future fabulous guests.
Actually, I do have one thing. Sorry.
Go for it.
So I've got an offer. It's called a gap analysis offer.
Fantastic.
And so you talked about this earlier with the guarantee with Isagenix. How you're willing to try Isagenix if there's that 30-day guarantee, and the guarantees are so important. And so with my gap analysis, I take it one step further. So my gap analysis call, we're going to restart the podcast. I hope that's okay. But this is a super valuable lesson I'm going to share with you right now. So my gap analysis offer is a strategy call. Okay. And so I think most of us in this field, we know what a strategy call means. And it means that, you're going to get me on the phone and you're going to pitch me on your high ticket coaching or your software or what have you. Right. And so understanding false limiting beliefs, I know that if I'm offering this to your audience, that they're like, yeah, Mike sounds like a great guy, but I can't afford to do his coaching or whatever. So I'm not, and he sounds like he can sell pretty good. So I don't want to put myself at risk. So here's what my gap analysis offer is. It's a 30-minute strategy session where I'm going to show you it's a gap. So get you from where you are to where you want to be in 30 minutes. Okay. With your marketing. And because I want to recognize your false limiting beliefs, if I don't deliver on that promise, if you don't think that 30 minutes was well spent, I'm not going to give you your money back. I'm going to give you twice your money back. And the reason for that is because the way I look at it, I will risk not making any money with you on a 30-minute call, right? It doesn't, if it doesn't cost me anything and I get to pitch you on my super expensive coaching, then that's worth it to me, right? So I'm saying I'm not going to, you you're going to make money on this call regardless. Either I'm going to help you with your business, or I'm going to give you as much money as you pay for the call, double
so
back.
it's worth your
right?
time.
Worth your time, right? So now I've got some skin in the game too. But you're still thinking, oh, but you sound like a pretty good salesman, and I don't want to hire a coach right now. So if during that 30-minute session, I try to sell you on anything, it doesn't matter if it's on my coaching, one of the softwares I affiliate for, whether it's on Isogenics, it doesn't matter. If I try to sell you on anything in that 30 minutes, I'm going to give you, what do you think? Twice your money back. So I call it the double money back guarantee.
Nice.
And so that just helps my audience feel a little bit safer in booking this gap analysis call. And so it's regularly a $97 call. But if you go to becausebusinessispersonal.com and enter the word podcast in the coupon code, you'll get $50 off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing
so,
value.
like I say, yeah. And like I say, so the worst case scenario, if you get on a gap analysis call, is means you're going to make $50. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Exactly. And I think everyone and anyone could definitely benefit from this. Is there a time limit we need to put on this as well, Mike, or we'll put that into the show notes?
No, because I don't know if you're going to launch this podcast tomorrow or like middle of February. Every podcast I'm on is different.
Exactly.
And so, so no, it's I love these calls. I just love these calls. Like, I like doing them, like the gap analysis calls, because I like seeing other problems. I like thinking about them, and it's called a 30-minute gap analysis, but they're usually closer to an hour. Because you can imagine I get a little bit excited about the subject.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's an absolutely fantastic value as well. Not only will you get 30 minutes with Mike, he'll go through the gap analysis specifically for your needs on your topic, going through with examples and recommendations, and you get to save $50 by using the code podcast. I think that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for offering that to my audience. We'll make sure we add it to the show notes so they know the exact URL as well and the code. And hopefully you have a lot of calls and you can help even more people on their empathetic journey.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Everyone else, don't forget to add More to Marketing to your playlist for more future fabulous guests. More to Marketing.